Hello everybody, welcome to this edition of Mr. J's Geek Corner, a place where we talk about anything and everything that is geek, whether it be comics, TV, movie, or video games. And as you remember in the last show, I talked about what I believe my top 10 list of the best animated superhero shows of all time ever made. All time ever made. And of course, as you know, number one on the list was Batman Animated Series. And as everybody knows, where it comes the best, also comes the worst. I mean, there has been, along with the best animated shows there's ever been, there's some of the worst animated superhero shows there have ever been. There have been plenty too. There's been a lot of them that have been kind of too numerous to mention. So I've kind of culled it down to about 5 that particularly stick out in my mind. About 5 that particularly stick out in my mind, and I said I've compiled a list of the top 5 what I think are the worst superhero cartoons ever made. And start off things with number 5. And the reason I'm wearing my Venom shirt, one of my Venom shirts, is number 5 on the list is SpiderMan Unlimited. I mean, that was a short-lived attempt to try to cash in on recapture the magic that the '90s Spider-Man series had. I mean, I ain't going to pick on every bit of it. It had great animation, great story. It was a great idea for a show, but there was a lot of things about it that was not good. And it left on a cliffhanger, of all things. I mean, you had, this whole thing where you start off things on Earth with, first you have, you start off with everything. They had found a counter Earth, and they were going to launch John Jameson there to find out what in the world's up with it, why in the world they're so aggressive towards their probe. And on top of that, and the night of the launch, Venom and Carnage try to get on board the plane, try to get on board the thing, and try to get on board the shuttle to get to that place. And they mentioned something called the synoptic, which is basically just this hive mind collective. It's basically collective hive mind, the alien hive mind on the planet, and basically Carnage wanted to get it. And this is where everything starts going south for me. I mean, Spider-Man looks great and everything. He looks awesome like he did in the series, except with darker colors. And to me, that's what made him look even more like the comics. But that's when things started getting sour for me. I mean, when you first introduce Venom and Carnage as essentially there is nothing human to them. I mean, they may be bonded with symbiotes, but they have their limits. And when you have them turning into their symbiotic forms, and basically they look like metamorphs, they turn into the symbiotic goo that they once were, and shape shift like they can't do that. That's what's so wrong with the Venom and Carnage. And other than that, so they have powers they've never shown them ever having before in comics, ever. And on top of that, they changed how they look, and they look terrible. Venom is huge, has a huge hulking physique, but in this thing, he looked like the Hulk. He was essentially, he looked like if the symbiote had bonded with the Hulk. He looked huge, bigger than how Venom is really supposed to look. I mean, Venom has a hulking physique, but this was Hulk physique. This was a hulking physique. This was a Hulk-like physique. He was huge, too huge. And on top of that, instead of the spider on his back, he had spines sticking out of his back. And on top of that, instead of looking like a Spider-Man suit, he looked like a beast. And when I say beast, he had clawed feet. And you actually see toes and everything. He had clawed feet. I mean, no. And a parallel reality, yes, but this is, no. Venom should never look like this. Ever. He's never looked like this. He may look like this in Venom the Madness, I don't know. In the comics, Venom the Madness, I don't know, but I'm sorry, it just turned me off immediately. Almost immediately. Then Carnage. Carnage essentially looked like a skeleton with spines and the same And like I said, he just looked like a skeleton, basically. So scrawny. And this whole synoptic thing got on my nerves in the series. Then when it got, but that's like I said, that was just one thing went wrong. Then they got to that Earth. Then they got to that counter Earth where the populace, the humans were basically the outcasts of society, and this dude called the High Evolutionary just showed up on the planet and decided he was going to make a better society on there. So what does he do? He makes it out of animals. He takes animals and he transmutates them into animal people. It's like Spider-Man said in the series when he showed up on that planet, the Manhattan Island of Dr. Moreau is essentially what it looked like. And back to early, and then of course, as usual, Spider-Man was responsible for John Jameson getting blown off course. He was missing in action and everything, and Spider-Man was getting blamed for it. Everybody hated him, so he decided that he snuck some nanotech from Reed Richards and made his own costume. That's where it was original Spider-Man, but he was in that. The suit was cool and everything, but like I said, it got tiresome after a while. I mean, it was pretty cool in the nanotech outfit with the stealth mode and the gliding, the web cape. I mean, it's like blending Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099, which was actually pretty cool. But he managed to get to Counter Earth, and he found out all this stuff, and they tried to do a bunch of stuff to him. He got rescued by John Jameson, who's now part of that planet's resistance and everything. And that's basically how the series started. They were basically trying to overthrow the High Evolutionary and all that stuff, and they never even really came close. And and there was a Green Goblin on that series, but he was a good guy. Spider-Man didn't trust him, but he was a good guy. And like I said, he had a pretty interesting look. He did have a glider. He had flapping wings that come out of a backpack. I mean, it's kind of like techno wings, I guess. I don't know. It was pretty cool, I guess. But either way, like I said, it got kind of lame after a while. Man. I mean, you can't beat a guy who has animal people. Seriously. And later on down the line, they had one interesting episode where Venom was separated from Brock, and you saw Spider-Man for the first time in years become the Black Spider-Man again, which was really exciting for me. And in the end, Brock wanted to be a normal human being again. He went back to being Venom, and then the symbiote completely took over his head again and everything. And what really stinks about this show, other than some of the premise of it, it ended on a cliffhanger. And I'm going to say what the ending is. Now, what I remember of it. They were stripped of their symbiotes. But the series ended in that they said that you have to get us back to our symbiote. They said the whole planet is doomed, and that the synoptic put some kind of thing in them that if they were ever separated from symbiotes again, it was going to attack the planet. And it did, and it left it with to be continued. If there was ever an ending to that, or if that was supposed to be the prelude to season 2, it never happened, and I never saw it. Because you never saw how it ended. You don't know if he ever beat the High Evolutionary or overthrew the animals. You never know if that all happened. You never know if they prevented the synoptic from taking over everything. You don't know what happened because they just left it hanging like that. And to me, that's why that series stunk. Other than the fact that there was certain characters that weren't true to what they really were. And to me, that's why that made on my list of worst animated superhero shows ever at number 5. Other than a few redeemable qualities, it was terrible. And so that's why it made it on my list. Number 4 on my list is one that very few people probably know about, and that's the Silver Surfer animated series of the late 90s. After Spider-Man went off there, about 3 years of Spider-Man being on there, I think it was from like 95 to 98, from like 1995 to 1998, I think it was. Spider-Man went off there, and Fox replaced it with a with a Silver Surfer animated series. And other than, and I'm gonna say it, other than the first, I'm gonna say it, other than the first 2 episodes, this series sucked. It stunk. It seriously was not that good. And on top of that, they had to cut the Fantastic Four out of it. Because everybody knows the story that went along with Silver Surfer coming to Earth. I mean, it's like they rewrote it for television. It was not spot on. I mean, he had to face off against Galactus by himself. And we all know what happened in the comics. Fantastic Four had a hand in it. Silver Surfer came to Earth as his herald. But in this series, he was wrestling with getting his memories of his Norrin Rad memories back, because they were wiped from him when he was made into the Silver Surfer. But in the end, I mean, you had all this mess with Thanos, which was stupid and everything, and he finally caught up to him. Finally caught up to Galactus, who had found Earth. And I say everybody knows Fantastic Four. He found Earth before Galactus did, which is right deviating from the comics right there. And then I say it deviated more in that he took him on by himself, and he finally did sway him away from Earth. But he thought he was free to go back home, and he said, I kept my word, I will spare Earth, but I never said you go back home again. And that's what stung. I said, and that was the first thing. I said, tried to watch the rest of the series. It was terrible. It was not good at all. I mean, I lost after the first couple. After that first 2 or 3 episodes, I quit watching it because I was like, this is not me. I said, this is not a good series, and I said I didn't like it, and I just quit watching it, and that's what made it number 4 on my list. And number 3 on my list is one that also very few people, except for those in the 90s, know about, and that is another Marvel series, Marvel's Avengers. Before they ever thought about making Avengers movies, they made an Avengers animated series. And I know you're asking, why in the world did that make it onto the list of worst animated shows? If you just saw it, you know what I'm talking about. All I'm going to say is this: B-listers. There was none, hardly any of the A-list heroes on that show. They alluded to Captain America. He probably made 1 appearance. They alluded to Iron Man, who made no appearances. They alluded to Thor, who made no appearances. They didn't even allude to the Hulk at all. They made no allusion to the Hulk. And they made no allusion to the Hulk. I said they only had like a few references to the Avengers as you know them. But all they had was B-listers. They had Tigress or Tigra. It had Tiger. They had Tigra. They had Wonder Man. They had the Scarlet Witch, Ant-Man, the Wasp, and that's about it. That's all they had. And then, at the course of the series, and of course the villain du jour of that series was Ultron. I mean, that was kind of the Lex Luthor, constantly picking at him of the series. And then you have, like I said, and then later on, Wonder Man wound up in a coma, and somehow his conscience wound up into the android that was Ultron's, but wound up turning good, Vision, as everybody knows, the Vision. It's just a pretty cool character, but still, it had Wonder Man's consciousness in it, which probably how it went to comics. I don't really know that much history, but still, it was not. And Hawkeye, I forgot, it had Hawkeye in it. It maybe had a few A-listers, about A- listers in it, but it was all B-listers. It was all second-raters. And I think even Spider-Woman was in it. Maybe I'm thinking of the Iron Man series. I don't know. But either way, it was not good at all. It was all the same thing every week. Fight Ultron, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's not made for a good series, and that's why it made it on my list. And number 2 on my list, I mentioned this on the last show as being a terrible show, Teen Titans. All I gotta say is, if you're a little kid, just get started in heroes, just get exposed to the DC universe, let them watch it. But if they already know more about the DC universe than your average kid, they're going to think this show's stupid, and it is. It's nothing but goofy kitty stuff. It's not good at all. I mean, crying out loud. I mean, it's just terrible. It's horrible. It's a horrible show. I look at it. I'm like, the whole time I was like, it's like anime. It's like goofy anime. Some of the goofier anime, the crazy, outrageous effects, and it's like watching anime. I mean, it had a few good spots in it, like the one where they go up against the master of game, like where they go up against the master of games, and Robin and Speedy and they had to fight each other. That was a pretty good fight. They had more of a Justice League feel to it. And then there was the episode where Starfire goes in the future and Tim Drake has become Nightwing. And that's pretty cool. But other than that, the rest of it's just terrible. I was like, ugh. And like I said, I was glad when they got rid of it, but it didn't stay gone for long. Because it leads into the number one, I'm thinking the worst superhero show, anime superhero show ever made, Teen Titans Go. There'll be a lot of folks that probably chew me out right now for saying this, but that and Teen Titans almost goes hand in hand as the worst animated shows ever made, period. Not mention superheroes. I mean, the animation is terrible. I mean, that's one thing I admire about the original Teen Titans. They have more of a feel of Batman, the latter Batman animated series, and Superman than they did, or more like a latter Batman animated series episodes than they did, and then Teen Titans Go. Teen Titans Go is terrible. It's made to look like a kid's cartoon, and it's made to be a kid's cartoon. They ain't being superheroes in this. There are more superheroes in Teen Titans than they are in this Teen Titans Go crap. And think about this. This and Beware the Batman is what replaced Young Justice and Green Lantern animated series. Think about that. They replaced a great quality show that is Young Justice, a great Teen Titans type show. They replaced Young Justice with this Teen Titans Go crap. They replaced an awesome show like that with this awful junk. It makes me mad every time I think about it. They canceled that at the height of its popularity. They canned it so they could bring on this goofy kitty crap like Teen Titans Go. It sickens me. It really sickens me, and it's probably, I guarantee it's sickening a lot of fans out there. And that's, to me, is what makes Teen Titans Go the worst anime show ever. The animation's terrible. The show itself is terrible, and the fact that they replaced Young Justice, a great show, with this is sickening, and that's what makes it so terrible. And that's why I don't like it. That's what makes it number one on my list and makes it the worst of all time. But what do y'all think? Am I right? Do y'all agree? That being the worst ever, or there are worse ones than that? Is one of the other ones on the list more worthy of that, or is there one that I'm missing? Let me know. As always, drop a comment in the comment box. I would love to hear from y'all. I really love to hear what y'all have to say. And I guess that's it for this week's edition of Mr. J's Geek Corner. As always, you have any kind of comments about the show, drop me a comment in the comment box. And if y'all have any ideas of things you want to hear me talk about on here, drop them in the comment box. I would love to hear from you. I'm always looking for fresh new ideas and things to talk about on here, and I'd love to hear from you. And I said, just drop me a comment in the comment box. And I'll see y'all next time.